Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the Epic Narrative.
Well, we are back at the Epic Narrative, and at the time of this recording, we have moved. We are in Ohio, and there is some sort of pollen that is just wreaking havoc. Well, that's all right. I hope it. I'm hopeful that the quality of recording doesn't drop too much. But you're probably going to hear me clear my throat a few times, as well as swallow, which evidently, if you remember back to season 1, was an issue. I I had no idea how much I swallowed. And my producer would be listening, in his earphones, and he's like, my goodness, Bob swallows a lot. And he actually used his EQ. I don't know. He used a buffering. He used software. He uses stuff that is pretty amazing. And he found the frequency of my swallow, which sounds weird. And I put that filter on it. So most of my swallowing started to disappear. But be that as it may, hopefully that still works. And today you're just going to hear me clear my throat. And you say, Bob, why are you recording? Why don't you just take a day off? Because this pollen could last 3 weeks. I ain't got time for this I ain't got time for that. Wasn't that like a crazy YouTube thing at one point? Somebody was interviewed and they were like, I haven't got time for that. And it became a thing, a viral thing. As always, don't forget to pass the Epic Narrative along. Would love to have more listeners. Well, yeah, we got quite a few. I think we're doing. I'm excited. I figure if I had a church of that many people, I'd be fired up. But in order to continue the algorithms, we got to get passed around. So pass us around, everyone. And we are in Judges chapter 15. Now, there's a lot going on here. I titled this Vengeance in Politics because that's the main things that are going on. But I also think we get some crazy, for me, it was crazy insights into Samson's character and life, because I don't think most people have the time to really delve into it, because you get distracted by the details of the story, which are pretty fascinating, and I mean, they're pretty fascinating. So it starts out, it says later on, in the Epic Narrative, we all know that means time. Months later, at the time of the wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife, and he said, I'm going to my wife's room. But her father would not let him go in. So we're talking probably 4 months later. Usually weddings took place in spring. So planting, everybody's having a good time. And then harvest time would come, obviously 3-4 months later. So that's probably when he was going down. So he heads down and he wants to consummate the marriage, because he went through the entire ceremony. The ceremony was complete. Sundown had happened. He had this blow up argument with his wife. But as far as he was concerned, the marriage was still legit. And as far as he was concerned, he believed he had every right to go, quote, visit his wife in her room. So the father goes, well, I can't let you go in there. Why not? I was so sure that you hated her that I gave her to your companion. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead. So this obviously is a much longer conversation. These are the highlight points of the conversation. So he goes, I want to go sleep with my wife. And he's like, yeah, you're not married to her. The argument that they had, and that when he blew up at the 30 guys, and then he blew up at his wife, and everybody was upset, she was crying. She had been crying pretty much all week. Now, her husband hates her. She wasn't necessarily looking forward to life with a Hebrew anyway. But now, now it's going to be even worse because he hates her so much. And she can only imagine how much abuse or, how ugly it's going to get in the house. So then she's handed off to one of the companions, which is part of the reason why the companions were there. In some traditional sense, it's the same way, even in American weddings, the groomsmen are there, in case something happens to the groom. Then the wife could be passed on to his best man. So that's probably kind of what happened. And so she's living life with this dude, and here comes Samson. You can imagine what her heart felt like when she heard him at the door talking to her father. I mean, I would imagine she heard that voice, and I'm gonna just picture it in my head that she was in the kitchen or in the courtyard preparing something for the meal. Her husband was out in the fields, and she hears that voice, unmistakable. She knows exactly who it is, and she hears him say, "I'm here to see my wife. Let me in. Let me in." And he's getting kind of physical at the door, and the father's pushing him back. No, I can't let you see her. I can't. I can't. She's not your wife. I was so convinced that you hated her. You were never going to love her. I was so convinced that you were never coming back that I gave her to the best man. I didn't want to pay for another wedding, so I got rid of her. Wow. Now the father, in an effort to kind of smooth things over, because I'm guessing Samson's getting fairly angry at this point. And the father, of course, has seen Samson get angry. He says to her, again, I don't think it was like one sentence after another. He goes, look it. Let me help you out. Look at her younger sister. You remember her, right? She's gorgeous. I mean, all my daughters are beautiful, but that one's the best looking one. Why don't you take her instead? I'll let you have her for a wife. Well, now, for Samson, right now, this is a matter of principle, right? If you're going to get offended, that's your choice. Even if you have better options in front of you. I see people do that all the time, right? They get offended over some slight somewhere. And even though they have better options or better people to be around or other friends that they could be with, they choose to fixate on what hurt them. And that's not unusual for victim mentality. It's not unusual for arrogant or prideful mentality. So he gets angry. And he says to himself, this time I have a right to get even with the Philistines. I will really harm them. So he not only chooses to be offended, he believes that now his rights have been violated as a husband. And now he's going to really harm them. He's planning on doing physical harm to the Philistines. And he believes he's justified, which of course is something that's always interesting when you're talking to somebody who's been offended, how they're always justified in their always. There's no way that what their reaction, there's no way that their response, there's no way, like whatever they do physically, emotionally, like it's all justified because so-and-so hurt me so bad. So he goes out and it says, verse 4, one of the most amazing verses in the Bible. He went out and caught 300 foxes, tied them tail in pairs, and then he fastened a torch to every pair of the tails. Now, that's crazy, right? And I don't even see in here that the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. So I don't know what he's doing. I don't know where you find 300 foxes. I don't know how you catch a fox. I got a fairly lazy, beautiful, cutie patootie dachshund here. But if he don't want you to touch him, you're not going to touch him. They are wirely little things. They will scoot around corners. They can turn on a dime. I watched my dachshund, not this one, another one named Buddy. He was being chased by like what I would call like a coon dog, like a dog that's made to run. And this dog is chasing him around this large fenced-in area. And he'd get really close to Buddy. Buddy would literally drop his shoulder on the ground, front shoulder, and he'd use it like a pivot point. He would turn a 180 and basically almost run in between the legs of the dog right behind him. The big old dog had no idea what happened. It was like a magic trick. Like suddenly the dog he was about to get was gone. And Buddy's running full steam the other direction. They were having a good time. They really were. He wasn't trying to hurt Buddy at all, but I'm just saying, if a dog don't want you to catch him, you're not catching him. So I don't know how in the world you catch 300 foxes. Maybe some of them he caught in their dens, but you got to know how to do this. Somehow I think Samson had this as a skill level. He learned this behavior of some sort, way to trap them, way to find, block one of the entrances to the den so that he'd run out the other. Maybe he smoked them out. I have no idea. But imagine catching 300 of them. This guy had to be running around through the fields, through the woods, up and down the hollers, in between the ditches, down, who knows, probably besides, farmers' houses. He's running all over like a lunatic. He had to be seen. People had to have seen him. They had to have seen him, and they probably were like, what in the world is that guy doing? Some of them might have known that he was Samson, just because of the hair. I mean, the hair is legendary. He hasn't cut it for what now, 20-something years. Even if it was all wrapped up in a turban on his head, it had to be huge. I mean, you can see those guys. Sometimes you see guys with dreads often, but then you see the guys with like massive dreads, right? And even though they wrap it up and put it under a towel or whatever, a piece of cloth, you can tell this guy's got dreads probably down to his ankles. Well, Samson probably does too. No, he's running around. He catches 300 foxes. Sorry, I know I got stuck on that one. Bob's like, okay, Bob, move along. He ties them all together, which again, I'm guessing he stored them in pens somewhere, maybe in 2 or 3 pens around the area. Made makeshift pens. They got to be good pens because the foxes they're wirely little characters. They can get under things and over things, and they can climb rocks. They can jump high. Maybe he tied them all together, which just sounds like an absolute disaster to me. But maybe the foxes were so shocked at being caught, they didn't know what to do. So they just sat there quiet. And then he comes and he grabs grabs a couple of them, kind of wraps their tails together, maybe with a piece of leather. Again, to me, logistically, now you need 150 straps of leather. Where did that come from? Did he stop by the market? Did he buy that after? I mean, after he's been running all around town and the countryside and people see him, then he goes by the market like nonchalantly. Do. Yeah, I need 150 straps of leather, about 2.5 cubics, or maybe a full cubic, right? What's that? Elbow to the top of your long finger. That's probably enough. So, whatever. So he gets those, and then he needs torches. Now, whether he makes these torches, buys these torches, I have no idea. But if you're making them, like this is no small project to do all this. This guy is focused. He is motivated. He is offended, and he believes he has the absolute right to destroy. He knows what he's doing. He's going to destroy the crops. Now, I'm guessing he started with what he thought was going to be his father-in-law's crops. He probably started there. He probably knew where those were. And he just didn't want to leave any piece of the grain harvest untouched. 150. of these animals. I don't know how he got them there. He gets them, he gets them all lined up. What do you do with 150 pairs of foxes? He lights the torches, which of course are laying on the ground, and he releases them. Maybe he cuts them off the line, and he scatters them. And these foxes are running literally their tails on fire. And they're with somebody they don't plan on spending their lives with. Like they are freaking out, running all over the place. And he literally just devastates 3 of the major money-making crops. They lost all the standing grain, all the shocks. That means where they had tied everything together. So even the ones that had harvested and were just sitting in clumps on all those burned. Then it burned, these I think that's probably all he was thinking was going to happen. But the fires were still lit. So then the vineyards caught on fire, and then the olive groves caught on fire. And of course, at this point, whenever there's a fire like that kind of thing, like everybody is aware of it. The smoke is billowing up from the fields. People run outside the cities. They're seeing that their crops are being burned. They see all these foxes that are tied together running around with torches. They know exactly who. At some level, they're like, why? What is going on? They asked that question, verse 6. Who did this? They were told, well, that was Samson. Who told them it was Samson? The people had seen Samson running around like a lunatic all afternoon, and then buying things at the market that clearly were now in play all over the field. The leaders didn't see it because they were busy doing business at the city gate. They're like, we need answers. We need to know what's going on. And the people are like, well, Samson did this. And they were like, why? Well, that's because his father-in-law gave his wife to the companion. So the Philistines were like, well, we need to put an end to this right now. We need Samson to know that we will take care of our own. And this is where politics come involved, right? Samson is at some level a recognized leader in Israel. They don't, I don't think they like him very much, but everybody knows he's supposed to be the leader of Israel because he's got the hair. He's been set apart since birth. Big announcements. Everybody knew about it. So all this is going on. The politicians decide we cannot have any more trouble coming out of Samson. He literally wiped out all of our money crops. So let's take care of this. So they kill. They handle the disaster. They take the wife, the dad, the entire family. They put them in their house and they burn it all to the ground. What? Yeah, they just burn them all to death. So then Samson hears that happened, and what's he do? Oh, he gets offended. He gets hurt. And he says, since you've acted like this, I swear I won't stop until I get my revenge on you. And he attacked them viciously and slaughtered many of them. And then he went down and stayed in the cave at the rock of Etam. Etam. E-T-A-M. So Samson's reaction, I think, is the way that he believed God would react. He saw God as a vengeful God, as a violent God, as a killing God. And whenever you offended God, this God would kill or maim or beat you up or whatever. And so he believed he was behaving, I think, like God would behave. These guys, he could even say, listen, I didn't kill anybody. I burned your crops. But now you've upped the ante. You've killed what I thought would be my wife. You killed my possible father-in-law. You killed her younger sister, who he promised her to me. I can totally see him saying that. Now I've got to really exact some vengeance on you, and I will not stop until I get my revenge. and he viciously slaughtered them. I don't know I don't know if he had a weapon on him, but he started to pound them, beat them, smash them with rocks, throw them off buildings. I don't know. He said that he slaughtered many of them. More vengeance, more violence, more death. These are the choices that Samson's making. And this is the pattern that you see in Samson's life. He's not down there with any friends. No one came down with him. No father, even no mother. He went down to see his wife, ex-wife. He didn't know it was his ex-wife. He went down to see her by himself. He brought a goat, which of course was actually a really nice thing to do. It was a very sweet gesture. It spoke of her value and the fact that he really wanted to be with her. But this was all decided on his own. He didn't go with friends. He didn't have any. I don't think he had any. When he gets upset, he doesn't go to God and ask for advice. He says, I will have my vengeance. I am justified. This is self-centered, self-aggrandizing, prideful, arrogant speech. You hurt me, I will now hurt you because I have decided. I think at some level, that's, when he leaves and he goes to the cave, I think he's conflicted. I think he's confused. These are another thing I know, right? People who behave like this never feel satisfied. They get done with their vengeance. They get done at getting back and sticking it to them. I posted something online. Well, that person will really know. Now everybody will know the truth. They will know the whole story. Sorry, I had to say it that way because there was a lady. I did a ton of counseling with her and her husband, but that's what she would say when he would tell me his side of the story. She would be like, no. You need to know the whole story. This is the whole story. And she'd go through the whole story. And honestly, it sounded just like him, except of course she was innocent. But it wasn't like he was missing any of the details. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Bob, move on. We're not even halfway through this chapter. So I just think that victim mentalities, arrogance, offense, hurt people, Bob. I know. And he just took it to an extreme because he felt justified. He had no friends to bump up against, no accountability. He didn't go to God. Like I said, he didn't bring anybody down there with him. I don't think he was planning on coming back. I think he probably spent 4 or 5 months up north, and he was like, or out west or wherever it was from where he lived, and he was like, I'm gonna go with my wife. I'm gonna go back to my wife. I'm tired of living up here. So he gets to the cave. He doesn't feel satisfied. He doesn't feel better. But I believe he at some level is going, but I'm doing what I was told I was supposed to do. I was dedicated from birth. This is my destiny to kill Philistines. And I beat up a bunch of them, and I killed even more, and I destroyed their crops. Like it's going to take a while for them to recover, but why don't I feel better? He goes there, and if you notice, no one from Israel came to help him. No one showed up like they did for other judges. They didn't send supplies and be like, "Hey, thanks for taking out so many of their crops. Thanks, for doing to them what they've done to us for 40 years. Thanks for taking revenge for what they did to you." When God's in something, it attracts people to what's going on. And here we see Samson's leadership is just really reactionary. He provokes people, the Philistines. He doesn't have a plan. Politically, this wasn't helpful. He wasn't even trying to make peace with the Philistines. Like he was just raging. And that's often what prideful people are. They're rageaholics. They explode all over everyone. But why? Because it manipulates behavior. So the Philistines, let's see, the Philistines in verse 9, they went up and basically put together a small army, a couple thousand, probably 4,000 to 5,000 people. They go to Judah, they start spreading out, which means they start raiding parties. And the people of Judah are like, verse 10, why did you come to fight us? We have come to take Samson prisoner, they said, to do to him as he did to us. And 3,000 men, verse 11, this is amazing. 3,000 men from Judah went down to the cave at the rock of Edom and said to Samson, don't you realize that the Philistines are rulers over us? What have you done? He said, I merely did to them what they did to me. Wow. Samson was just out for himself. He had no vision. 3,000 men from Judah show up and they're like, hey, why did you do this? And he was like, because they hurt me. They upset me. They offended me. They gave my wife away. I was justified. I don't care that you're upset. That's really what it's saying. I don't care. And that's exactly the type of leadership position he was in. He didn't care. He didn't care about others. And literally no one cared about him. He was lonely. So Judah is into surviving, right? So they basically are turning on him. They don't recognize his calling. I don't even think they like him. They show up with an army, right? All the other judges that we've been through, they take an army and they go do something. I'm not saying they were correct in their approach, but they rallied people. 3,000 men come to Judah, or from Judah show up at Samson's doorstep, and he doesn't rally them. He offends them. And he tells them, I don't care. I don't care. I did it for me. You're upset? Deal with it. So basically they're saying, listen, we want peace, but we have to comply. Don't you realize the Philistines rule over us? They're talking to the person whose destiny was to rule Judah, rule Israel, rule Judah. And they're like, that you don't rule us, they rule us. We want peace. We want to comply. They said to him, we've come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines. And Samson says, well, just swear to me that you won't kill me yourselves. Agreed, they said. We will only tie you up and hand you over to them. We will not kill you. So they bound him up with 2 new ropes and led him out from the rock. So as they get up in that conversation, right, they basically negotiate with Sam. Not out of respect, but out of a desire to calm things down. Out of a desire to keep the retaliation to a minimum from the Philistines. We've come to hand you over to the enemy. What an amazingly lonely thing to hear. I mean, he doesn't feel great. He's been alone most of his life. Nobody really likes him. He finally does something. He takes on the Philistines in what he thought was a justified approach, but it was selfish, but he thought he was justified. And 3,000 of his own people come to him and say, we don't want you. We want to hand you over to the enemy. They want to kill you, and we want you dead. That's what's going on here. I mean, Samson is what a character to study. So his main hang-up was, all right, I'll let you tie me up, but please don't kill me. They're like, oh, we don't want to kill you. They're going to kill you. We just want to hand you over. All right, because I don't want to die at the hands of my own people. And they're like, okay, that's fair. That's fair. We didn't want to kill you either, so we're all good. So they tie him up, and as he approached Leah, the Philistines came forward shouting. And they're angry. They're trying to be intimidating, right? They see Samson coming. They decide to, kind of rush at him and maybe make him scared or flinch or something, right? But Samson, this whole thing, he's approaching this from, again, from a selfish level. He's like, well, I know these guys aren't going to kill me. And maybe I'll do something, amazing. I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I think he's conflicted. I think he's all over the place. So he gets close, right? It says that they came at him shouting. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him powerfully. The ropes on his arms became like charred flax. They just basically dropped from him. Finding a fresh jawbone of the donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. Then Samson said, with a donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men. When he finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone, and the place was called Ramath Leah. So you got Philistines running, and whenever there's running, there's always the fast people get out first, right? So it's not like a line of troops. But if you're going to keep a line of troops, you have to be disciplined. These guys were shouting; they were running across the valley. Samson had been brought out by 3,000 men, and when they dropped him off, they left him. They just rode away. 3,000 of them. Samson, the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him, and the ropes drop, and he now has an option. He could run if he wanted to, but he flies into a rage. He grabs the jawbone and he starts swinging. I imagine that first guy, this is straight out of like a Matrix movie. Like that first guy got smacked with the jawbone of the donkey, and he probably flew 10 feet in the air and 40 feet back. He probably took out 15 Philistines on his way back. And by the time the guys that were 15 people back realized what was going on, there were bodies flying everywhere. This guy is swinging. Nobody's getting close to him. They ran up thinking they were just going to tackle this guy and maul him to death. But it didn't happen. Kind of like, what was that? The guy who ran in the Hunger Games in the final one. Snow. Remember, Snow's all tied up at the pillar, and Katniss kills the general instead of Snow, and then all the people run at Snow and just start basically beating him to death. That's what they expected to do to Samson, and they never got close. And he kills 1,000 people. And I know that this is like the big heroic thing. I colored the pictures in Sunday school. This was, the act of God killing 1,000 people. I'm not saying that he didn't have a right to defend himself. He did. And maybe that's what was going on, but he clearly takes credit for it all. Like there's no mention of God here. Samson said, with the jawbone of a donkey, I have made donkeys of them. In other words, I embarrassed them. I made them look like fools. They wanted me to look foolish. I made them look foolish. So again, vengeance, revenge, pride. And with the donkey's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men. And when he finished speaking, he just threw the jawbone and walked away. This is amazing to me at another thing, another way of looking at it. The 3,000 men that Judah had with them when they brought him out there and dropped him off, they weren't gone. They were definitely within visual sight of what's going on here. They hear the Philistines running. You know they turned around to watch what was going to happen. You know they did. Any one of us would have. We drop off a lone man against, I don't know, let's say it's all 1,000 of them. Let's say that's all they brought. And you hear the shouting and the rage coming from the Philistines, and they're running toward this lone man standing with his arms tied. And then you see that his arms are free. And you're like, oh my gosh, he got out. And then he's looking around, and he sees this donkey jawbone, and he reaches down and he grabs it. It's shaped, the back end is kind of shaped like a curved weapon. And the first guy gets hit, and the men of Judah are like, whoa, that was nuts. And then he just keeps swinging and spinning and kicking and punching and swinging and spinning and kicking and punching. And men are just flying all over the place. He's killing them. He's smashing their heads. That's really the only way to do it, by hand. It's very hard to kill somebody by punching them really hard in the heart. Not impossible. He's punching them in the throat. He's banging their heads with rocks. He's got it all going on. And the men of Judah, did they rally to their judge? Did they get inspired like other judges have inspired, men into battle? No. No, they watched the whole thing and didn't help. That blows my mind. There had to be some of those guys in the military going, we should go help him. Like, he's winning the battle. He's killed half their guys. We should go help him kill the rest. We could have a great victory against the Philistines. Nope. Maybe somebody will get to him. Maybe somehow they'll kill him. They wanted him dead. Still blows my mind. No, I mean, I haven't ever heard that preached. I'm not saying it hasn't been, but I never have. So he gets done and he sings a song to himself. And then he was very thirsty, which makes sense. And he cried out to God, you have given your servant this great victory. Now must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised? So now he gives God credit when he needs God to do something. See how manipulative that is? I'm sure none of you are that way when you pray, but he's like, God, I did this great thing. I sang this really cool song to myself. Everybody watched. 3,000 of my own people watched me kill 1,000 Philistines with a jawbone of a donkey. And now you're going to let me die? After I did this great thing, you're going to let me die? I mean, a lot of people treat their ministries that way too. It's like, Lord, I did this great thing, and now you're going to let the church go under? You're going to let the church run out of money? You're going to let this ministry fall apart? You're going to let the building be taken from us? After all I've done. That's Samson's quote prayer. Selfishness, pride, arrogance, lack of humility, rage, vengeance. It's crazy. This is what consumed him. And what does God do? Oh, well, God's good. God has been good through all of time. And he hollowed out a place in the desert floor, and water came out of it. And when Samson drank, his strength returned. He was revived. So the spring was called Caller's Spring. And it's still there, I guess. And then it says, for me, one of the saddest verses in the Bible, verse 20. Samson led Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. 20 years. We don't get one story from it. All we get are stories of vengeance and anger and pride. Now imagine when he was done killing and he sang his own song, and then he got water and he got refreshed and he stood up, and the 3,000 men were probably like, well, now what? And I picture, all made up in my head, I picture the leader of the Judean army riding out to him and saying, "Well, you're the leader now. I guess you're in charge." And he, quote, led for 20 years. No major battles, no major attacks. He led a nation of compliance, a nation that stayed in line. The Philistines, they stayed back. They were like, this guy's like, I don't know what goes, like, this guy's crazy. He was a legend. You didn't want to mess with him. But I'm guessing they came up with some sort of trade deals and peace treaties and contracts, and everybody just kind of lived their life. And, quote, Samson led them for 20 years. Oh, it's sad. A lot of leaders do that too, don't they? They finally get to a place of leadership and they live in such fear of making a bad decision that they never do a thing. I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't want to go viral. I don't want to say anything that offends anyone. Bob's looks at me. He goes, I think you're meddling. I think you're right. All right, I'll be quiet. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's story. As always, I look forward to being with you again next week on The Epic Narrative.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
Classic, isn't it? This is just a classic. I know I brought it up in the episode. This is a classic reaction from a man of arrogance and of self-rejection. You just, it's ugly. It's an ugly picture of Samson. And I knew going into Samson, there was a lot that I already was aware of that I was like, I don't think he was that great of a guy. And honestly, none of these judges are coming off in great as great characters. I understand that for so many people who believe that God likes killing the enemy and likes to wipe out his enemies and enjoys bringing death to his enemies, people who believe God enjoys that kind of stuff, they look at the judges as heroes of the faith, heroes who did the bidding of God in destroying people and killing them. But I don't, as you know, I don't believe God wants to kill people. And I believe that misunderstanding of who God is, I think I just said that 4 times. Sorry about that. Said it again. That misunderstanding about who God is impacts the decisions you make on how you're going to respond, quote, to an enemy, unquote. Because an enemy becomes anybody who's offended you, who's hurt you. And when you believe that you are doing the will of God and somebody hurts you or offends you, you interpret that to mean they have now offended God and I must defend God. And there's so many preachers I know that do that. Anything that happens in the church, they take personally. And so if somebody leaves the church, it's like, oh, they've left God. If somebody comes to the church, it's like, oh, this is wonderful. They've come to the Lord. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre arrogance that just leaves me dumbfounded. Here I am, still stuttering about it. Anyway, did you guys know I had a stuttering problem when I was a kid? I have a grandson right now that stutters, and I look at him and I think, it's all right, my friend. It's going to be all right. And you can just tell it's mostly because his brain is on super fast mode and his tongue just can't keep up. And that's exactly what was happening to me. And I'm amazed. My mom took me. I don't honestly know who it was. I just remember going, and he was a very nice old man. Now, he could have been in his 40s, but in my head, he was an old man. But he he basically said this young man just needs to learn to slow down. His brain is on fire, and his tongue can't keep up. And so we just did exercises, and the stuttering goes away. Now, I know I bump up against words like I did in this little recording where I said a filler word 4 times in a row, because my brain was literally 3 sentences ahead, and I was like, slow down, slow down, slow down. Bring it bring it back. Talk slow, Bob. Everything's got to be fine. So I appreciate those of you who stick with me through all this. But yeah, I just wanted you to know that. I didn't know if you knew, but now you know. I used to stutter really badly, and now I don't really badly. I do occasionally, but not real badly. And yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for being there for me, guys. I appreciate it. I will let you know how things go in the future. I'll let you know how things are going at work. We should be in Texas at the time of this recording. We should have already made it to Texas, and I can fill you in on those details as next week. I'll try to remember to do that. But in all that, if I don't, feel free to follow me on Facebook. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. Feel free to, I live life out there. So enjoy keeping up with me if you want. But and if you can help us out financially to keep the Epic Narrative rolling, I'd greatly appreciate that as well. Even though we're working full time, it is a ministry, and they are kind. And I think we're not. Thankfully, we're just not losing money every month like we used to. So that 4 years of that, and you can go through a lot of money real fast. My poor wife, she's a bookkeeper. She saw this day coming. She saw it coming. I think about the 4th month in, she was like, she probably could see the day we were going to run out. But God came through, and now we're good. We're not gonna starve or completely run out of money. So thank the Lord for that. But if you can help out the Epic Narrative, I would greatly appreciate it. Have yourself a good day, everyone.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.